Ah, childhood. A simpler time. Do you remember after-school snacks? What was your go-to snack? What were your favorites? Do you think about snacks from your childhood that you just can't find anymore? Well, I do. So let's run and go get some. Bienvenue, welcome in. I'm Miss Kate and this is Go Cuisine. Today we're making apple cinnamon rolls. When I was a kid, we had Mrs. Baird's cinnamon rolls in Texas, which I can't get anymore. They came in fun flavors like apple and cherry. Unfortunately, Mrs. Baird's no longer makes these, and the closest thing I've come to find is a Danish, so I'm going to attempt to make my own. Let's start with the dry ingredient. We're going to start with 120 grams of all-purpose flour. To that, we'll add a tablespoon of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of instant yeast, and half a teaspoon of table salt, along with a pinch of cinnamon. I didn't measure the cinnamon really, I just put a sprinkle in, but I would guess it's about a quarter teaspoon. Then we're going to whisk this to combine before we move on to our wet ingredients. You'll see this is going to come together quickly. I'm making a small batch because I just want to see if this will turn out, so that's what we're doing. Next, we'll add a third cup or 76 grams of warm milk. You want it about 110 degrees, no warmer or you'll kill your yeast. To that, we're going to add a little splash of vanilla, perhaps a half teaspoon. And now I'm stirring this together with my wooden spoon to create a dough. When everything's almost combined, we're going to add in 28 grams or 2 tablespoons of very soft, room temperature butter and work it in. All I did was put mine in this glass bowl and zap it in the microwave for a second because I forgot to set it out. Don't do it too long or it'll be liquid and that's not what we want. So just work it in. Just all I'm doing is stirring and mashing, stirring and mashing. And when it looks like you could get your hands in there, we'll switch to our bench. So we're just going to lightly dust the bench. Don't get too much flour because we don't want to make our dough too dry. And we're just going to knead this dough by hand for a few minutes until we get a smooth, elastic dough. It takes a minute, just meditate and think about it. Use your scraper to kind of bring it back together if it gets sticky. And when we can get it into a nice smooth ball, we're going to put it back in our bowl. Optionally, you can grease it. I didn't. And we're going to cover it and let it double in size. This could take up to an hour or more depending on the temperature of your kitchen. While that gets started, we'll start on our filling. We're adding some cornstarch here, some dark or light brown sugar, your choice, about 40 grams. That's 3 tablespoons. You can really do this to taste if you'd like. A half teaspoon of cinnamon. You can do more if you'd like. Again, we can customize this to taste. Now let's whisk this together with the same whisk we used earlier to combine. Get all the lumps out. And now the star of the show. This is an apple that I've peeled, chopped, and then cooked. and if you'd like a video on how to make that, I will try to make one for you guys and then give you the link below. I'm just going to mash this in. Again, this is just cooked apple. There's no sugar in it at all. So I'm just mashing it around until I have my filling. This is super simple. I just cut up apples and put them on a very low fire. Maybe put a splash of water in the bottom or apple cider if I have it. And then I put it on a low heat, cover it, come back every, 30 minutes or so and stir it around until it's the softness that I like. And then you can blend it or you can leave it just like this and put it in my oatmeal. I put it on my yogurt. It's good. Apparently, I've contaminated the container. Oh no. There we go. Our baking vessel will be a loaf pan. Put some parchment in the bottom like this, or you can grease and flour it. Now let's very lightly dust our work surface again, and let's roll out this dough. Shout out to King Arthur Baking. My base dough was based on their small batch cinnamon roll recipe. So now that our dough has almost doubled in size, we're going to roll it out. You can see it's nice and puffy, looks great. We're going to roll this into a roughly 4-inch by 10-inch rectangle. That's a 10 by 25 centimeter rectangle for you metric people. Yes, this kitchen nerd keeps a ruler in her kitchen, right next to the rolling pin. If you want this super even, you could trim it off into a perfect rectangle, but I don't bother. I just grab the corners and try to get it as even as possible. I'm not looking for perfection here. Next, we're going to add in our apple filling. Be sure to leave an edge on the border so it'll seal properly when we roll it. When rolling, you want to roll towards yourself. Go nice and easy in a tight spiral. Now we're going to cut this in half. It's at this point that I realize I should have rolled this from the short end, not the long end. But we're just going to work with it. We won't give up. I'm just gonna kind of give it another spiral so it'll have the filling on the inside, but we're also going to put some more apple on the top, so I'm not too worried about it. Just make it work. It's still gonna taste good. So now that I've got these both in my loaf pan, I'm just gonna kind of mash them down. I would have done this cut the other way as well. You want to kind of create a divot in the center because we're going to add some more of that apple topping on the top. Okay, so I just reserved a couple of spoonfuls here and it's going up top. And then we're going to let this rise, so we've got to cover it. While we wait for these to rise, preheat your oven. So it's been about 40 minutes. Mine are nice and puffy. You can see they're touching. We're going to put this into a 375-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. That one didn't get tucked in. So you can see these are golden brown, but the best way to tell if they're done is by internal temperature of the bread part. It should be 190 Fahrenheit. Now we're going to make the icing. This is a simple flat icing. I've got half a cup, 57 grams of powdered sugar, and a couple of teaspoons of milk until it gets to my desired consistency. Just whisk this together and then we're going to put it on top of our slightly cooled rolls. The consistency I like is where it just kind of stands up on itself when you drizzle it. I like the way these turned out. They're connected just like the Mrs. Baird's rolls were. And you can see they're nice and fluffy. Okay, so I'm just going to drizzle my icing on. Just go in a zigzag over and over until you get all the icing on there, or as much as you want. I mean, this looks pretty good. Let's step back and admire our creation for a minute. Maybe send a video to your brother. I think we might have done it. Now let's go in for cross section. Check out this cross section. You've got the apple filling throughout. You've got a nice big pocket at the top. It is nice and fluffy. Let's cut it again. There is definitely a lot of the bread. If you want a more even distribution of the filling, you need to go from the short end. The taste is pretty good. I'm not gonna say I copied Mrs. Baird's. I think I did better. Haha. I gotta make this again. Oh yeah, childhood is calling. Y'all make this. Let me know in the comments if what you'd like to see me make next. Thanks, have a great day. Au revoir.